Hello students, today's topic is second law of thermodynamics. So in the previous classes I have discussed with you about the first law of thermodynamics for a closed system and for any flow process. But the first law of thermodynamics states that a certain energy balance will hold when a system undergoes a change of state or a thermodynamic process, but it does not given any information whether that change of state or the process is at all feasible or not. The first law cannot indicate whether a metallic bar of uniform temperature can spontaneously become warmer at one end and cooler at other. All that the law can state is that if this process did occur, the energy gained by one end would be exactly equal to that lost by the other. It is the second law of thermodynamics which provides the criterion as to the probability of various processes. Spontaneous processes in nature occur only in one direction. Heat always flows from a body at higher temperature to a body at lower temperature. Water always flows downwards. Time always flows in the forward direction. The reverse of this never happens spontaneously. The spontaneity of the process is due to a finite driving potential, sometimes called the force or the cause, and what happens is called the flux, the current or the effect. The typical forces like temperature gradient, concentration gradient, and electric potential gradient have their respective conjugate fluxes of heat transfer, mass transfer, and flow of electric current. These transfer processes can never spontaneously occur from a lower to a higher potential. This directional law puts a limitation on energy transformation other than that imposed by the first law. Joule's experiments demonstrates that energy, when supplied to a system in the form of work, can be completely converted into heat. But the complete conversion of heat into work in a cycle is not possible. So, heat and work are not completely interchangeable forms of energy. When work is converted into heat, we always have work equals to heat. But when heat is converted into work in a complete closed cycle process, we always have Q, that is heat greater than work. That means the heat that is converted into work will be always greater than. These arrows here indicates the direction of energy transformation. So in the second law we basically have two statements. Number one is Kelvin-Planck statement and another one is Clausius statement. So from the Kelvin-Planck statement we can came to know that it is impossible for a heat engine to produce net work in a complete cycle if it exchanges heat only with bodies at a single fixed temperature. So what is the meaning of Kelvin-Planck statement? So if we have a source of temperature T1 and we have another body which is termed as sink whose temperature is T2, and if T1 is greater than T2, then from the law of nature or law of thermodynamics we know that heat will always flow from the higher temperature to lower temperature, that means from source to sink, from T1 to T2. But now if we want to convert this heat into a useful work, we have to add a device which is termed as heat engine. This heat engine will receive the heat and it will deliver some work. But according to the Kelvin-Planck statement, during this process there will be some amount of heat rejection by the heat engine which will go to the sink. So in this picture it is clear that the heat engine is absorbing Q1 quantity of heat from the source and it is delivering W quantity of work output and it is ejecting Q2 quantity of heat to the sink. So from the first law we can write that Q1 minus Q2 equals to W. So now if we want to calculate the thermal efficiency of heat engine, we know that the thermal efficiency of any heat engine is that the work done by heat applied, and from the figure it is clear that the work done is W and the heat supplied is Q1. So the efficiency or the thermal efficiency of the heat engine now becomes W by Q1. And if we replace the W with Q1 minus Q2, which we have found here, then the equation becomes like this, which is 1 minus Q2 by Q1. So this is the thermal efficiency of any heat engine which is working between the two temperature limits. The next statement of second law is the Clausius statement. So according to the Clausius statements, it is impossible to construct a device which operating in a cycle will produce no effect other than transfer of heat from a low temperature body to high temperature body. So what is the meaning of this Clausius statement? So let us assume we have a temperature body which is termed as source and whose temperature is T1, and we have a temperature body which is termed as sink and whose temperature is T2, and here T1 is greater than T2. So from the natural law of thermodynamics or from the natural law, it is impossible to transfer heat from the lower temperature body to the higher temperature body. That means it is impossible to transfer heat from sink to source unless and until we add some device which is termed as heat pump or refrigerator, whose function is basically to transfer heat from the lower temperature body to the higher temperature body with the help of some external work. So in this figure it is clear that these devices, which is termed as heat pump or refrigerator, can transfer heat from the lower temperature body to a higher temperature body with the expense of some external work done. So we can say that Q2 plus W equals to Q1. So now there is a term which is related to the heat pump or refrigerator, and that term is coefficient of performance, because the heat pump and the refrigerator, the thermodynamic cycle of these two devices are same, but the application of these are slightly different. So we are having a term coefficient of performance instead of the term thermal efficiency. So basically the coefficient of performance is the useful refrigeration or the desired output divided by the net work done. So the COP for refrigeration can be written as Q2 by W, which is Q1 minus Q2. So now look, the COP of heat pump is Q1 by Q1 minus Q2. So look here, the COP of refrigeration, when we are calculating the COP of refrigeration, the desired output here is Q2, because for the refrigeration point of view, the main application of a refrigerator is to maintain the lower temperature body to a fixed temperature. That means if we have to maintain the sink temperature at T2, we have to extract Q2 quantity of heat. That's why the desired output in this case is Q2. And for the COP of heat pump, we know the application of heat pump is related to the temperature of the higher temperature body. That means if this heat pump has to maintain the temperature of the source at T1, it has to be delivered Q1 quantity of heat, and that's why the COP of heat pump is Q1 by Q1 minus Q2, because Q1 is the desired output for the heat pump. So in the previous slide I have shown you that the COP of refrigerator is Q2 by Q1 minus Q2, and if we add 1 in the both side of the equation, we will get that the COP of refrigeration plus 1 equals to Q1 by Q1 minus Q2, which is nothing but the COP of heat pump. So we can say that COP of refrigeration plus 1 equals to COP of heat pump. So from the general point of view, it might have been seen that there is no relation between the Kelvin-Planck statement and the Clausius statement, but they are virtually two parallel statements of second law and are equivalent in all aspects. The equivalence of the two statements will be proved if it can be shown that the violation of one statement implies the violation of the second one and the vice versa. So let us first consider the violation of Kelvin-Planck statement leads to violation of Clausius statement. So for that we are taking a source which temperature is T1, and we are taking a sink whose temperature is T2, and here T1 is greater than T2. And according to the Kelvin-Planck statement, when we have to convert heat into work, we have to add some heat engine, as we have learned in the last class, and upon violating the Kelvin-Planck statement, we are saying that the Q2 term is 0. That means the heat engine is only absorbing Q1 quantity heat and it is delivering W quantity of heat without ejecting any kind of heat. That means the total heat is here converted into work, which is the violation of Kelvin-Planck statement, because according to the Kelvin-Planck statement we know that for this there must be a amount of heat ejection and there must be two temperature bodies, which is source and a sink. And now if we apply a heat pump or a refrigerator within the same temperature limit, then this heat pump will draw Q2 quantity of heat from the sink and it will deliver Q2 plus W, which is Q1 quantity of heat to the sink. And for that we are assuming that the heat engine is developing W quantity of work done, and this heat pump is taking the W quantity of heat pump to deliver the heat from sink to the source. So now, as in this picture, it is clear that the heat pump or the refrigerator is delivering some quantity of heat to the source, and this heat engine is extracting Q1 quantity of heat from the source. So the hot reservoir or the source can be eliminated and the heat can be discharged by the heat pump, can be fed to the heat engine. So from the figure now it is clear that the heat engine and this heat pump or refrigerator together constitute a heat pump which is working in a cycle and producing the sole effect of transferring heat from lower temperature body to a higher temperature body without any external work done. So this is the violation of Clausius statement. So from this it is clear that if we violate the Kelvin-Planck statement, the violation of Clausius statement happens automatically. Now we will do that the violation of Clausius statement leads to violation of Kelvin-Planck statement, and for that we are doing the same thing as we have done. that we are taking a source of temperature T1 and we are taking a sink of temperature T2 where T1 is greater than T2, and we are attaching here some heat pump or refrigerator which is delivering Q2 quantity of heat from lower temperature body to a higher temperature body. But as we are violating the Clausius statement, we are assuming that it doesn't require any external work done. That means upon violating the Clausius statement, we are thinking that this heat pump or refrigerator is transforming heat from lower temperature body to a higher temperature body without some external work input. And then we add a heat pump within the same temperature limits, and this heat engine is receiving Q1 quantity of heat from the source and it is delivering W quantity of work done. So from the figure it is clear that the heat pump or the refrigerator is delivering some quantity of heat to the source, and this heat engine is receiving Q1 quantity of heat from the source. So the source or the hot reservoir can be eliminated and the heat pump can deliver the heat to the heat engine directly. So now from this figure we can say that the heat pump and the heat engine, which is acting together, it is constituting a heat engine which is operating in a cycle and producing net work W while exchanging heat only with one body, that is sink, and which is at a single fixed temperature, which violates the Kelvin-Planck statement. So from these two examples it is clear that if we want to violate one statement, the another statement will violate automatically. So we can say that there is a relation between the Clausius statement and the Kelvin-Planck statement, and we can say that those statements are equivalent to each other in all aspects.